much of tournament play is mental. It's almost like they forget how to play afterwards. It's such a crushing defeat. As soon as they win that first one, that first major win, there's a switch. At Capcom Cup, nobody wants in their pool. If you remember last year at Frosty Faustings, Grand Finals was Punk and Dual Kevin. Kevin at the time was a Luke player. He was still playing Luke. He started beating Punk's Cammy, so Punk switched to Luke. And Luke mirrored Dual Kevin, and Dual Kevin switched to Rashid. And so he started making the comeback, and if I'm not mistaken, at the very end, Punk finally switched back to Cammy and was able to defeat Dual Kevin's Rashid. And of course, we know what happened in 2024. Dual Kevin became one of the best Rashids in North America. And this year, Just a Kid ended up in 5th place. Last year's Cinderella story of Ramsey, unfortunately, just missed the top 8. Enzo the Hokage made it all the way out there, got 7th place. Idom was out there. He ended up in 4th place. Dual Kevin made it to Grand Finals. The hometown hero, the Midwest hero, can finally take the tournament. But his opponent was Noah the Prodigy. Noah the Prodigy got there on winner's side. It was 3-2 in Grand Finals, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the 3rd year in a row that Dual Kevin got 2nd and Frosty lost Grand Finals to 3 different opponents. He's gotten 2nd place 3 years in a row here. He has not been able to take this tournament. And keep in mind, this was happening all the time last year to try to qualify to Capcom Cup. For all the tournaments that he went to qualify for Capcom Cup, he was always at worst like 3rd place. He has been just shy of winning these big major tournaments every single time. He eventually got into Capcom Cup via the World Warriors by winning the Midwest regions out there. I mean, even if we bring back the point system, like as Dual Kevin, like you gotta be kind of frustrated in this situation. Every single time you try to clutch it out these tournaments, he's having trouble doing that. Somebody at the tournament told me this, so if it's wrong, blame them, not me. According to somebody I was talking to, they actually said that Dual Kevin is like 0-7 against Noah the Prodigy. So he's just having trouble fighting against that style of play. Dual Kevin is an amazing player. He was in my top 5 players of the year just last week at the Ultra Chen Awards. So clearly, I think he's an amazing player. He's really good. But you know, it's tough. Because if you are a fighting game player, one of the things that's really hard for a lot of people who are not playing in these tournaments to realize is that so much of tournament play is mental. And I'm not talking about your mind games or your tricks or whatever like that, but it's just like how much you beat yourself up, how much you believe in yourself. If you're just like going into matches like, oh God, you lose and then you're just mentally distraught. What we used to call the Wong factor in MVC2 days was that whenever you hit Justin with a kill combo, you're like, oh God, I can kill Justin Wong. Don't drop it. And you end up dropping it because you're thinking about it too much. And so somehow Justin lives and then Justin comes back and kills you, right? I have seen that happen to players, and the player that it's happened to like literally just drops off the map. It's almost like they forget how to play afterwards because it's such a crushing defeat. It's so painful to go through something like that. I don't know if Dual Kevin's ever gonna see this, but Dual Kevin has to realize that he's still one of the best in the world. He's still one of the best in NA. There's no reason for him to overthink this kind of situation, to bring himself down, because at one point in time during Street Fighter V, Fuudo, they kept calling him Mr. Second Place. I don't know if you remember it, because there was a sequence where Fuudo ended up in 2nd place like 5 times in a row, and even Japan was making fun of him. They were calling him Mr. Second Place. It happens to the best of players, and you know what? Fuudo is such a good player that it certainly didn't harm him in any way, and he eventually started winning tournaments again, and then Fuudo he's ridiculous. That's one of the things that Dual Kevin has to keep in mind. Okay, you're not winning these tournaments, but you know what? You are getting in the top 3 of every single one of these tournaments. And that says more about your strength and consistency in playing tournaments than anything. That is such a strong power to have. Wouldn't you rather be in Grand Finals with the potential to win the tournament 4 tournaments in a row than like not get there at all? The fact that you are that consistent all the time, getting top 3 almost every single time, says a lot. And so that's one of the things that he has to understand. Now, is there something about his clutch factor that he's got to work on? Probably, but like I said, fighting games are so much about mentality. A lot of players go through this. They get far and they can't win. They get far and they can't win. But as soon as they win that first one, that first major win, there's a switch that clicks in your head. Like suddenly I proved that I can do it. And all of a sudden you just become in the same class as the knuckle dudes and the punks. The mental state just flips. I've seen it happen to so many players, struggling to win the tournament, always being the gatekeeper, always coming in top 8, but never being able to win it. And then they win the first one, and then for some reason, all of a sudden after that, they'll be winning a lot more, and they've suddenly become one of those players. It happens very often. And so I just think that's what it's going to take for Dual Kevin. He just needs to win a big tournament. Everything will click for him. That demon is off your back. That monkey is off your back. That's the main storyline I take out of there for Dual Kevin. But the other side of the main story here is Noah the Prodigy. And Noah the Prodigy, obviously last year has been making waves all over the place. I did not have him as one of my players of the year last year because he had a lot of very important wins, like
Link respawn,
getting to the Capcom Cup and stuff like that, but I felt like he hadn't quite achieved that kind of like, oh, you know, this is it now. But honestly, if Frosty Faustings took place in December 2024, I might have actually put him there because Noah the Prodigy is becoming ridiculous. He's so good now, and it's so unorthodox. We talk about him burning himself out all the time, and he's still doing it. He still plays that way, and it's crazy. You know he's gonna do it, so you're like, okay, I should take advantage of that, and nobody really has learned how to take advantage of that against Noah. People will actually stun him against the wall every once in a while. That does nothing to discourage him from burning out again. He's so good at playing in Burnout, largely thanks to Luke the character. Sandblast, honestly, is a great time killer in neutral. And that's the thing, it's like when he plays in Burnout, it's not like he's playing crazy defense. A lot of times he's actually trying to rush you down at the same time. At Capcom Cup, I will tell you this right now, nobody wants Noah in their pool. Nobody wants to be anywhere near Noah in the bracket if Noah makes it out of the pool. If you're going into Capcom Cup, Noah is the player that you just want to avoid at any cost. How do you practice against Noah? You can't fight anybody in the world that'll train you for Noah. Because nobody can do what Noah is doing. Because you can find someone else and be like, don't worry about your drive gauge, play crazy, I want to learn how to fight against that. But then you get burned out and then you die. You're not Noah the Prodigy. Nobody even plays Luke anymore. It's really hard to find a way to practice against him. One of the biggest weaknesses that Noah's gonna have is that Ken is really good at taking advantage of burned out characters, and we've seen Noah has had a little bit trouble fighting some of the stronger Kens. So Ken is still a little bit of a character that can maybe cause him problems. But I gotta tell you right now, there is nobody in this tournament that wants Noah the Prodigy in your pool. I think he's literally the most dangerous player there. Do I think he's gonna win the tournament? It's impossible to bet on any player versus the field in this kind of situation. I will just tell you though that on any given day, at any given match, if Noah the Prodigy is doing Noah the Prodigy things, you aren't winning. Noah could come into Capcom Cup and completely just destroy everybody. He could also flame out. It's so hard to predict what's gonna happen with Noah the Prodigy. I just don't think anybody is scarier to fight against. If he's having one of those days, I don't know if anybody could beat him. What I love about it, what I love about Noah the Prodigy's playing style is he is the modern iteration of Marn and Punko. David has often talked about how Punko calls the way that he played Seth in Street Fighter 4 Gamble Seth. He called it Gamble Seth. He intentionally played with a very dangerous style, but the idea is to overwhelm your opponent, play dangerously and so unorthodox that no one's ready for you. Marn was excellent at that. The way he played Viper, the way that he played Dudley in Street Fighter 4, and you remember that one NCR where Marn ended up winning the late registration bracket with Mika in season 1 or 2 of Street Fighter 5, and then got all the way to top 8 with that Mika. He beat so many people because he played Gamble Mika. And Noah the Prodigy, I feel like, is the latest version of that. He is that style of play. And it makes me so happy to see someone still able to carry out that style of play in a game where it's so dangerous to burn yourself out. Honestly, he grew so much during the course of last year. If he can keep up that kind of growth, he's gonna be very scary. Now, the weird thing about it is people are like, oh, once he actually learns not to burn himself out so much, then can you imagine? I honestly don't know if he would be as good. I feel like that's one of the things that makes him so strong. And so, yeah, I'm really invested in watching what these two players do in 2025, because these are two players who are gonna be some of the more important stories during the course of this year.
It was Tuesday.